Okay, yeah. Okay, very good morning to all of you. Yeah, Keith, very thank you for having me here. Right. Okay. Now the technology is actually possible to have actually online adaptive learning of any language online. Right. You are going to see a lot more of this software on the market. Right. There are actually a lot of software for learning English online, as we have seen. But for learning of learning of Chinese is not there yet. We have actually searched through and we cannot find any effective program. Some are just learning words and short passages and things like that, right? And there is another problem for learners of Chinese is that most of the software you can find online are for learning of Chinese as a first language, right? If you actually use a software that is developed by Republic of China, that's Taiwan, or from PRC, right? This program are generally designed for learning of Chinese as a first language, right? Okay, we are actually a company from Singapore, right? We are in a very good position to actually do learning of Chinese as a foreign language. For myself, my first language is, you guess what? It's actually Hokkien. Okay, my second language is Cantonese, because I went to Cantonese kindergarten, right? So my third language is actually Mandarin. The fourth is actually English. So for me, I actually learned Chinese as a third language. So yeah, so okay. And I cannot get PowerPoint to okay, yeah. Okay. We are what we read, right? So this goes without saying, right? Learners who actually read better do better in schools. Right? If you think back, you actually learn a language in school, but when is the time that you become very proficient in that language? It's when you read a book, that you really like the book, and you just spend maybe 2 or 3 days finish a thick book. And that's when your language, the mastery of that language really go up, right? Of course, the next point that your mastery of the language really become very good is when you are immersed in that language speaking environment. So there are actually 2 points in life that you actually have good mastery of one language. So what we are doing here is actually we try to provide things for kids to read so that they can actually master Mandarin, right? But the problem is selecting suitable passages to match a learner ability, right? Because you are in a world now that is actually not so homogeneous. When we're young, all the kids that are from similar background go to the same class. Now it's not, right? I shall explain more. Okay, so if you actually provide a kid things to read that is beyond his or her skill, she might not be able to understand and she will get frustrated, right? And passages that are below his skill, he will lose interest and he will not be motivated. So how do we actually provide kids with passages that are on level? that will actually motivate him or her to read more. Okay, this is actually a real classroom photograph from Singapore. Look at the different phases there, right? And books, how are we going to match to these kids that are learning language? You need to be able to, now the task, without any automation software, the task falls on a teacher. A teacher needs to be able to understand each kid. You just imagine you need to actually talk to the kid and actually know which level he is, right? And to be able to place him or her correctly on a scale, right? So place meaning you need to actually locate where the mastery of the kid's language skill is. Then the teacher needs to be able to read or browse through the books and classify them correctly and actually assign and monitor how kids progress. So it's not an easy task. Teachers will need to be trained for this, and it's really not a very easy task. Right, this is just a straw poll survey from our database of about 10,000 users now. Right, it's it's actually quite a typical representation of Singapore school. 335 students. Singaporeans, they are 70%, right? And the other 30% are actually from all over the world. From this, there are actually Russians, Australians, Japanese, quite a few, and so on and so forth. India, quite a lot. One breakdown that we don't have is the race from the big number 2, 3, 4, which is actually Singaporeans, but a lot more non-Chinese are picking up the language, right? So this is actually from Chinese language classroom. So this is Filipinos, whom I actually personally met when we were doing trial for our system. And well, the problem that I mentioned, how do you place them on a scale, right? For both the learners and the books. Okay, a bit of I actually stole this slide from one of the courses that I attended. The course is actually on item response theory, right? So it actually talk about how to locate the students on a scale of ability, right? Language mathematics is the same thing. In fact, we can just look from here, from the test item that the kid does. You can roughly say that he's somewhere here, right? So because he actually got it half right, half wrong, and this one got more right, less wrong, and things like that. So we can place it here. So that's how sort of computer software can do now, right? Can actually, based on the test, and really correctly place, locate students on the ability scale, right? Okay, so we actually did quite a lot, not a bit, of R&D in the years before we created this Dudu adaptive learning program, right? And just now you remember there were two parts that I was saying. We need to be able to place a student correctly on the scale, and we need to be able to classify the text correctly. So we actually did research using machine learning for this. And this one, we were using item response theory to actually select the test item and things like that. So we have actually achieved, surprisingly, the numbers that we achieved is 20 minutes, which is actually exactly the same as the scholastic program for placing for this English language placement. Right? So this is what computer can do now. Right? Just imagine, okay, our scale is actually from level 1 to 8, which is age 5 to age 12, right? For CFL learner, right? 1 to 8. So imagine that we can actually do this just in 20 minutes for a class of students. So that saved the teacher a lot of time. Right away, the kid go in, after 20 minutes, we can actually place them. But you might ask how accurate this placement test is. We have actually done this statistical analysis and published 2 papers. I think this one is for placement test. Yeah, reading comprehension placement test. So it was published in a journal. So the correlation is about 0.65, which is good, right? Which is good. Yeah. So you can trust this test when your kids use this system. And the placement of the for the Chinese passages from level 1 to 8, the error rate is only 0.75. We actually work with about 10 very experienced Chinese language teachers, and their classification is actually only about 0.5 level of what our software can do. But they take a long time, right? So we actually gave them about 150 passages each for them to do classification, and they took about 2 weeks. The machine can do it, 150 passages, the machine can do it in 5 minutes. And well, there's still 0.75 level error rate, but I think at this moment in time it's actually acceptable, right? Okay, so with all this research and so on, we created this system. We call it Dudu, okay? Dudu means read in Chinese. Okay, this is my only Chinese slide, so don't worry about that. And this one says concept is adaptive and differentiated learning, and the functions they actually the system will adapt to the learner's language ability, so that they will be able to be presented with material that they are interested in, and they can actually learn at their pace, right? And the system consists of a placement test. Then after the placement test, they start to use the system to read e-books. Right? Okay, this says the same thing. Right? So, okay. So how does it work? Right? For the accelerated reading program, the adaptive reading program here, right, is that the system will actually administer books based on the child's level. Then it will actually level up the learner when their performance improves, right? And will present fresh e-books to the students and let learner revise the books they have read. So it's a very simple system. We consciously, it was designed not to be very complex. So we actually designed it so that it has just a few necessary functions, so that the child can actually focus on the reading of the content, right? Instead of get distracted with, oh, I can see what my friends do and things like that. Why we want the child to be so capable, you see? So we actually design it to be, okay, you read and you do a quiz, then you move on. Right, so these are some of the books here. Okay, so this one says the same thing, and through this, the system actually monitors the child's performance. And we have managed to done it, we have managed to do it so that the system is 100% automated. Right? A lot of so-called online system that we used to see, the teacher's involvement is actually compulsory. That means the teacher need to assign things for the child to read. So when the teacher is busy, the child just sit there and wait, or they do some other thing. Right? But this one, let the child work at their own pace. It doesn't need the school or the teacher to assign things. Right? Okay. E-books. The passages are actually labeled and verified by experienced teachers, right? And we have different genre and category, contemporary, mythological, like the Journey to the West, right? And also historical stories, knowledge, and it's carefully chosen vocab according to the levels, and beautifully illustrated content. This is the user interface. There are only two user interfaces. This one, where the child selects the book. These are the recommended books that are the child's level. Let's say the child's level is 5.6. You actually come up with levels that are close to it. And these are the more books that the child can read if he or she is interested. Right. This is the book reading interface. Very simple. The illustration and the text. There are tools. These are the very useful tools. Then you can actually get audio readout of the text. You can see dictionary. I'm going to give a very quick demo after this. So then there's a quiz and can browse through pages. Okay. So what other things are inside to help a child to read and write? So dictionary. Dictionary here is actually down to every word. Every word, which is very important because you might get frustrated. You don't want the child to cut and paste and go to dictionary.com and whatever and waste the time. So the dictionary is actually down to every word, and it does what we call segmentation. Right. One problem with Chinese is there is no spaces, right? So we actually use a computer algorithm to do segmentation. So for example, you see the word seafood, right? The system knows when you look at a piece of text and say, oh, seafood is actually one term. Then when you click, it will give you the correct definition of seafood. Right? And it actually remembers what you have read and what you highlighted. You can actually put a star there. You click the star and it goes into the child's vocabulary history. So this is the child's notebook of what are the words that he finds he needs to keep and so that he can revise. So and also come with picture and audio for the dictionary. In fact, you can see very clearly. 我有一只大公鸡. 公鸡 is a cock and a rooster. So it is actually being segmented as one term here. That's what we call it Chinese. Okay, then this is the reading aid. It's it's at sentence level. It's at sentence level. And this is auto marking of the quiz. After the child has read a passage, if the quiz will actually show up, then can she proceed? Okay, some of the quizzes are actually higher, what we call higher order thinking. It's not just, well, I'll give you a word and what does this word mean and things like that. Those very basic, you know, the Bloom's taxonomy and so on. So some of these are at wedge number 3, wedge number 4. So for example, this one is, ask you about, after you have read the passage, you actually ask you about how you turn to be able to find Mei's home, her house, where is it? So the child will have to think. Okay, and motivation with reward. Surprisingly, the child, most of the learners are very excited about this. Right? They actually compare what they have. Compare what are the special rewards that they can get. And games to reinforce learning like words, and also learning on the terms. Okay, so high scoreboard, the child can compare with one another, but they cannot message one another, so don't worry. There's no Facebook link, we actually consciously leave it out. Right? But we have some requests to put in, so yeah. So these are the tools for teachers, which are very useful. You can see, the teacher can see the whole class, the starting level after placement test, and the current level, how many books they read, etc. Right? And there's a scoring system inside. Okay. The other one is for Chinese teachers, they might find it useful to once in a while you want to assign, you found a passage and you want to assign to read, right? And you don't know whether it's suitable for their level. You can actually just cut and paste here, and it will actually tell you what are the words that are appropriate for different levels. Yeah. Because this is actually based on Singapore's syllabus, right? Malaysian, the Chinese curriculum, there are word lists and so on. So we can also put it in. And also there are things like this one. Then it will give you also the readability. How fluent the passage is. You don't want to assign a passage that is not very readable. The readability index is a combination of how long the sentences are there any passive voice, right? And also the use of long words and things like that. Right? And also what type of what is the genre? No, this is the genre. This is the type of passage. Right? 知识见闻 this one is knowledge. 技术文 is what? Narrative. Yeah. So yeah, and count the words. And this one, you can do it in 30 seconds. You paste in a passage, and it actually returns the result after analysis, after segmentation, after the classification, everything in 30 seconds. Yeah. And also identify the words that are appropriate for this level, the new terms. Once you click, you can actually read the definition. Okay, thank you. I'm going to give a brief demo, right? This is my name card, by the way. It's for machine to read, but if you have a smartphone, you can read. Okay. Okay, this is the Dudu interface. So it's actually a very straightforward interface. The recommended books. I'm logged in as a teacher. That's why the level there is a dash. a child, he will be shown which level he is at, right? So there are other books also in different genres. I can see here my books, my rewards, right? My scoreboard, this is a scoreboard of my class. Then what book I've read, right? And also my vocab list. 上学 and so on and so forth. Yeah. So the child can actually keep track of what are the words he has highlighted. Right. So I can select from the books that I read before, and it goes into the book reading interface. Right. Well, you can actually zoom in if you want. So it's a page and so on. There are tools that I have mentioned. Right. This is actually the pinyin tool. I can just click every word. Well, you can see the pinyin, and you can see the dictionary. As you can see, the term boundary is correctly identified. Even terms like 沿着, 沿着 is actually along, right? So it says that the little rabbit, the name is 跳跳, 沿着小路上学. That means just walking along a road. Right. So this one is along. By the way, I have not clicked on the along. Luckily, you get it right. So yeah. So this is, and this is the word that I have highlighted, and it will show me. It doesn't just take the word and put into my dictionary. You also take the context. So for example, this word actually happened in 小路跳跳沿着小路上学. So it actually remembers the content. So it's very good for a child to revise. Right? And then this is the audio. You can just turn on all those things. So when you go to the next page, you will actually go in the reading mode. Yeah. So you can. Okay, the Hanyu Pinyin annotation is actually quite important, right? Especially for CFL learner, because they will have a lot of problem identifying the characters, and that's the aid to help them. Right? And there are actually leading questions. Right? So that the teacher can actually use it to prompt the students. Okay, I show you another book that is higher level. This one, what level is this one? This one is a higher level book. Right? It's actually 朗马识途 is one of the Chinese idioms. 朗马识途, and this is where it comes from. This is the story that the idiom comes from. This one should be level primary 5 or primary 6. Right? So at the end of it, if you go to this is the last page, right? Then this is the quiz. So if you page to the next page, it will actually ask you a quiz. In down and names. Two is actually, yeah, so can actually go on this one. Some of the questions use actually audio and things like that. Right. So, so far so good. Yeah. Then for teacher, there are tools. The tools that I mentioned. Okay, this is the placement test. Okay. I can look at the scoreboard of the classes, see who actually come and talk. This is actually a trial class that we did some time back. Then for teacher can actually monitor what the class is doing. So this is the class report. Yeah. So these are the students that are taking the. Okay, I'll show you another class that has full list. As you can see the name. I don't know. Yeah. So it's actually a mix. This one I think probably from the Philippines. And this one I don't know where he's from. It's a mix of Chinese name, Malay, and Christian name. So it's a mix. So that is actually a typical classroom that we are having now in Singapore, and probably Malaysia International School, and also the global Chinese learning classroom. So I hope this system can actually help you to educate your kid in the learning of Chinese. Yeah. That's my presentation. Is there any question? Yes.
Are they allowed to print out the books?
You can screen down. It actually now runs on PC browser, PC browsers and iPad. Yeah. We don't stop you from just pressing the print button. Yeah. Is there any specific reason you want to print?
Children like the book so much they want to keep a copy.
That's actually a good suggestion. We will consider that. Yeah. Now, no. Yeah.
This would require someone who have a proficient level of Mandarin to guide the students. What happens if like kids and maybe my teacher all of us a banana and we totally do not know any of the thing? How do we?
You actually start with a placement test. So you don't need someone that is proficient to guide. The system just runs by itself. The reason why we give this user interface to school is because the teachers still want to know where the kids are. So it's not necessary to have someone to guide.
So if someone just wants to self-study, you'll be lost, right? Because there's no interface within English or his native language. Everything in Mandarin, right?
Okay, we actually designed the interface so that the on the screen is actually English. The instruction here, scoreboard and things like that, recommended and more. So let's say a child that is learning the language for the first year will actually take the placement test, right? So the teacher can actually take a look at the placement test. But a child, when he logs in the first time, he will be administered the placement test. And at the end of placement test, first year probably is level 1 or level 2. So after he finishes the placement test, when he comes here, all the level 1 books, I can actually show you some of the level 1 books here. The level 1 books will be shown. Let's say, let's say level 2 book, yeah, level 1 book. So these are actually this book is level 1.8. So you can actually click and read and actually read this book, right? And with all the reading aid and so on. And the dictionary. Yeah. So So it's not necessary to have someone to guide the child.
So the journey will be slower in that sense.
The,
Because he has
it
to
actually
process,
depends on the child's how interested he or she is. But we started on the premise that if a child is given on-level passages, he will be more motivated because he or she understands. He said, oh, if I actually learn from the first year, oh, I know this word I, right? So I come in and I kind of say, okay, I actually hear it again, then I can mark this word. And this were the other places that I've not marked it. First, I use this account for demo. So some of the contexts are quite difficult. But a child when he comes in and says, oh yeah, I know this word, but I don't know what this word means. And inside the quiz, he or she will be quizzed on those words that he just heard. Yeah. So it is designed to be self-paced, online, and adaptive. Yeah. Because we see in the classroom the teacher has a hard time trying to deal with a class of language ability. Okay, let's say it's a P3 class, primary 3. A child that is from mainland China, the language ability can be P6. And Filipino or Vietnamese, the language ability is P1 or even K2. So it's a very wide range.
So yeah, sorry. The other thing is the lesson, once you start, it's all online, right? From A to Z, or once you start a module, you can be offline. That means you have to be online all the time?
For this one, it's online all the time. Yeah. We are launching an iPad version that is offline, so that you can actually cache the book onto your device. Yeah. So yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Actually, just to add, at the present moment, we just started distributing this. Surprisingly, the people who are very interested are all the Orang Putih International School, because none of us speak anything. And then the salesman who sells this product also don't even speak Chinese at all. So like David and I, we sell this product, we don't even speak Chinese at all. But when they use it, they find that, oh, I can start from zero. Also, the pedagogy of some of us, like wanting to learn the language, do we go full immersion? That means we don't want to have too many rescue boats and stuff around. So once you go full immersion, you tend to learn it better, you know. And then you have all the tools to help. That means you don't see the answer first or click on the pinyin first. So you learn from one word, you pick up the vocabulary as such. Actually, I think the market potential is huge. Don't sell to the Chinese school, they don't need one actually. But the Malay schools, the banana like us, sometimes we want to sing karaoke, we learn a few songs, few words, then they say, okay, it's good enough for me to learn that. So maybe what we can do, you can try the product, try in your institution. Maybe we can be classmates, we learn together. Actually, I always wanted to start learning, but I haven't had the opportunity to start learning somewhere. Maybe this could be an opportunity to do. Now, the bigger agenda, all right, that some of us could work together is that maybe we can do this whole thing. You see, what we have in the world at the present moment is the Lexile program. Lexile program, we have the Lexile or celebrated reader. Basically, your English level of comprehension, how high, how to grade your level. And probably another one, I think maybe Spain as such. Now, this is like the third language in the world that is Lexile. Many years of research, many millions been spent. Actually, I find the biggest agenda is to work with one of your organizations here. We do the Malay Lexile. Because all the algorithm, the formulas, all these things are already done. It will be a really, really, really huge thing, you know. If you do it in a Malay Lexile, every book that has going to be ever published or any content that is ever going to be published in Malay will have to use this system. Alright, we're also seeking opportunities to work with Indonesia, with Thailand, with Vietnam as such, because the same formula, the difficult bit is to form the initial benchmark on running something like this. It could even be learning Arabic or Greek for that matter.
We actually gone through the process of doing the leveling and placement test, and that took us 3 years. But luckily, we got a grant from Singapore government for doing that for CFL. Yeah. So the process, we know it very well, and it's not just do and just sell. No, we were, when they give us the money, they want to see publications to actually verify. We actually verify that our work is accurate for both of these. I think scholastic and also the state's Renaissance learning, which actually do it for English. They are still using human beings to do the classification, but we right away jump into doing the machine classification. Okay. Okay, thanks.